See, things have come to head, time out for scare you, scary route today. And follow us down Courage Lane, they cages in, break down the gates. We want all the smoke, like we chiefin' on a pound a day, but not talking intoxicating rage, not this intoxicating. This is far more tragic than what's comprehended. This has got to stop. I don't understand everything as a man. I'm authorized by God to make this petition. Believe it, especially when you hate and aim to kill a man.
All right, let's get a small clap up in here tonight, man, as we kick it tonight on this beautiful Saturday night here. TOTB, the dopest, man. What else you gonna come to but right here for the latest and the greatest information out there in the land. We are so glad to be back with y'all. So many episodes, so many times doing this, man. I'm so proud to be amongst great people to continue to do this, man, as we rock and roll, man. And look, not only could you check us out on our YouTube, TOTB_show, but now shout out to all our listeners that's listening right now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all our people that's listening to us while they driving, while they're at the gym, at the gig, or whatever. We appreciate y'all, man. We got a lot in store for you. Go subscribe. If you ain't did nothing else, go subscribe and check us out, man, because we just getting started with so much content and stuff to talk about out here in the land. Of course, we got some dope guests in the building tonight, man. We're going to have an amazing show. So much to talk about in the land that we live in right now, man. And of course, the platform you come to is the dopest to discuss what's going on, all right? Let's get into it, man. Let's get to the thinkers and introduce some of these wonderful, intelligent brothers on this platform, and then we're going to have some craziness from Moolah, of course, like we always do. Let's start off this way. Gospel artist, pastor, the homie D Jenkins. What's up, bro? Where can they find you?
Man, you can find me at DJenkins_25 on TikTok and at DJenkins_25 on YouTube. And of course, TOTB_show on YouTube. Always get in tune, stay in tune. Bless us, great people.
It is. Stay in tune. Appreciate you, good brother, man. Y'all watch out for D Jenkins, man. We have some amazing stuff coming from this brother this summer. I'm just gonna say that. I ain't gonna put too much out there. But this summer
no
gonna
spoilers,
be no spoilers. You know, it's gonna be a summer to remember for sure.
Get ready.
That's what's up. Right next to him, man, is this guy is super smart, man. I almost say every time I'm around him, I learn something. I'm like, man, okay, that's cool, man. Yeah. We got the homie Romero in the building, man. What's up, homie?
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Where can we find you at?
You guys can find me on all social media platforms at I am Oz Romero. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the good ones.
There it is, man. Thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah,
finally,
of course.
man.
Yeah,
I
was so eager to come in. I was like, I have to come in with the right partner. And he's right opposite of me. So I'm very excited to be here today.
But don't sugarcoat it, really. He's family, right? Right. He's thinking outside the box family.
Yeah,
for sure. Thank you for coming, bro.
Of course.
And thank you for bringing someone. I feel like I just got to sit up. I feel like my posture is wrong. Man, let me just I got to get right with it. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ed Perry to the show.
Thank you.
My good brother, man, what can they find you at?
Well, basically, I'm not on social media, but you can always reach me at perryrevup1@gmail.com. Give you all my information right from there.
There you go.
There it is. Everybody that be on social media, hey, look, it's a different way now, okay? Go follow that brother. He got a lot going on, man. We're going to get into everything they got going on pretty soon, all right? Then, of course, we have Captain Controversial. Moolah Monster, man. Where can they find you?
MoolahMonster.com. Check me out. Man. Hey, the people out here, man, I'm finna start. Listen, Detroit. We got Texas. We had New York, man. Y'all been reaching out. Man, we respect that, man. Shout out to our supporters, man.
Shout out to our
I love my supporters, so I got to give y'all extra shots out, man. Shout out to y'all, you know.
It is, man.
Definitely.
Shout out to definitely people that's been rocking with us as we continue to do this thing, man. It seems like we just keep going and we getting stronger the more and more we go. So
it's like always. 60, right?
Yeah, this is episode 60.
Episode 60, man.
Yeah,
wow.
so
we working.
Big six.
Yeah, so we want to shout out to all the followers out there. Be sure to go subscribe. TOTB_show on YouTube. TOTB the dopest on IG and Facebook. And on TikTok, of course, it's the dopest, man. TOTB the dopest, man. All right. Shout out to our lovely audience, man. You know what I'm saying? We got great people up in here, man, representing.
Oh,
We about to have a good show. So look, this is what we're going to do. We have a lot to talk about. So right now is the time, if you're watching live or anytime you're watching or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, this is the time right now to get in tune, to like, to share, to comment, right? Before we get into exactly the meat of what we want to talk about, we want to talk about more about what these brothers got going on, man. You know, Moolah, what you got for them?
Hey, man. Oz, my man. Hey, this is an important guy right here, man. And I appreciate you for coming on the show, too. You know what I'm saying? Guy been giving me a lot of, tools and gems. And I appreciate that. I always say I never want to, you know what I'm saying, never want to knock anybody who give me something they didn't have to. So you showed me love, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I see a lot of potential in this program, this podcast. So I'm all about empowering people that are giving to the community. And I see all the good that you guys are doing. So I do what I can with my marketing background to share information with y'all. So I'm glad that you guys are using it. I'm glad you guys are growing. And I'm happy to be a part of the growth.
Yes. This Mr. MTV, y'all. I want to let y'all know.
Back in another life.
Yeah. But I want to ask you, you know what I'm saying, about what you got going on, the Sunlit. You the founder of the Sunlit Foundation.
So I recently moved to the Maywood area last year, April. I'm coming up on a year of moving here.
Shout out to
Maywood.
You
can't let that just go.
Exactly. But on that note, when I moved there, I was just kind of like blown away by the indomitable spirit of all of the Maywoodians that I went there. Like on that first month, I think was the April spring cleaning of the community. And I was just blown away by the amount of people that were out there supporting their community, wanting to see it grow and do better, that I just kind of was drawn into that immediately. And I wanted to be a part of the growth of Maywood, the advancement of Maywood, and just making Maywood the place to be outside of the Chicago area, because there's so much potential in the mayor, in the community, in the children that I'm working with at the 200 building. Like I just see so much in them that I want to be able to give my all to them, so that by the time my kids are growing up, they will be able to give back to my kids the same way that I gave to them.
So why Maywood?
I just didn't like the way the city was, in the direction the city was going. So I felt that I had to move a little bit outside of the city. Not that Maywood's too far away, exactly, but just somewhere a little bit further away, a little bit more of that suburban living that I wanted to have my family grow up in.
Nice.
I dig that. I like that. And me and you, we met at the 200 building also.
Correct. The mayor was having a My Brother's Keeper meeting, actually, where I went and read to the kids of the Garfield Elementary School. And that is just a program to get more Black and brown men in front of Black and brown boys in elementary school, to teach them that reading is cool. There is more to life than, video games and what you see on the streets. Like, there are better role models in the community itself that you can learn from. So I just want to be one of the brown men of the Maywood, Melrose, Proviso East community that they look up to in the future.
And I did that also, and it was amazing, I read to the kids in Roosevelt School. And we definitely hit it off, and we said we was going to connect, right?
Correct.
And this the connection, right?
This is it, right? From that one interaction that we've had, I've now been in this like 6, 7, 8 episodes, not in them obviously, but in the backgrounds, just being here. And I've fallen in love with this podcast and what you guys do for the community, and I think that you guys, the trajectory is just up for you guys.
And shouts out to the mayor too, man. Let's give him
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Last week.
Congratulations.
And for those that don't know, we talk about Maywood. It's a suburb west of Chicago. It's like 5-10 minutes away from the west side of Chicago. One thing I will say is I'm glad that you chose to come out here and begin to, explore some of the things you could do to help benefit the community, as Maywood has gotten a bad rep due to, some of the things that the guys in the neighborhood have partaken of in many years. For those that don't know, it ain't the It wasn't always the best neighborhood, but you know, one thing I can say, a lot of maturity has come into the Maywood
True.
area, especially dealing with the politics and those that's in the place now, as well as the people that's inside. Those of us who live there, because I grew up there. You know, a great community. It was rough growing up, but man, I look now at the men that's there that's doing a turnaround. I'm talking about some of the people you never would have thought as they have matured in life. They're taking a stance to get back to the community, to build the community up, to take away from the narrative that has been painted about our community.
Definitely.
And anybody that come along and want to add to that, man, that's a blessing.
Yes, it is.
That's a blessing.
Shout out to you guys, man, for, you know, I'm not Maywood. Just put that out there. But, you know, since I've been doing this show and met my brothers, I'm like, oh, Maywood kind of cool. All right, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes it takes meeting people to get used to different neighborhoods. So.
Yeah, definitely. And as the Grand was saying over here, there is already that perspective of Maywood isn't the best, the safest place to live. And I totally disagree with that. Like, I totally disagree. I totally want to change the perspective in the minds of everyone that has that paradigm of Maywood, and I shift it completely, because with the 200 building program, I'm working with the kids, I'm working with the youth of that area, and I'm learning so much about them. They want to give to their community.
They do.
They just don't have the outlets to do it.
Yes.
So I'm in the works of talking to the mayor and having a subsidized lawn care program for the elderly of Maywood to help them, you know, take care of their lawns and not have so much stress on them, as well as that financial burden, as this will be a subsidized program. But that's still in the works. But like I said, I just want to change the paradigm that they have of these Maywood youth, the Maywood community all around. Like they're great people. Just give them a chance, talk to them, get to know them, and you'll get to see the bright side of the Maywood, you know? It's the village of eternal light, and I just want to shine that eternal light on them like they deserve.
That's
you know,
definitely needed.
And you know what? You know, Maywood have turned into black and brown, you know, as far as the population. And it's good that we can work together for a better cause. Instead of, you know, because back in the day, it used to be, you know, a little bit, you know, problems. Yeah, you know,
rough,
going to
man.
Melrose Park, and, you know, so it was problems. So now, and we see that it's a lot of, you know, black and brown together. And I like it, you know, because it's one goal, one purpose.
100%.
Yeah. And
advancement.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is all on the, you know, on the tailcoats of what Fred Hampton was all about.
Say that.
Fred Hampton was all about joining the black and brown and the impoverished communities together to make their lives better. It wasn't about black, brown, white, or anything. It was about, we're the poor communities. We've been red taped into these communities. Let's not make this worse for ourselves. Let's make these communities better. Let's do what we can. Let's give these free lunches to the kids. Let's do what we can with the people in our community to make these place a better place.
And let me say this: don't sell yourself short on the program that you're trying to start as far as with taking care of the elderly, helping the elderly upkeep their homes. Because that's another thing. You know, you get these big banks that take these homes and foreclose. And you know, it was like even when the city got to a point where it looked real ran down. You know what I'm saying? But that's because you had banks that had homes that wasn't taking care of them. You know what I mean? And then you had some elderly who couldn't upkeep it. So for you to want to come in and put that program in effect, that helps, because that brings up the morale of the city. You know what I'm saying? It helps clean it up, and also it brings up the value of the homes just around.
I want the banks to not have control of the wealth by the real estate. I want the families of the people that live there, and not just because your grandma died, she couldn't upkeep her lawn, and now the city's taking it from her. That's not right. That's not right.
Because the banks, they definitely, I'm just be honest, the banks didn't give a damn because of the demographic of the community and because of the violence that was going on in the community. The banks didn't give a damn about the community or the homes that they own within the communities at one point in time. I can honestly say that. So it's needed.
Yeah, definitely needed. Definitely.
Shout out to you guys, man, for giving people knowledge about what's needed in communities around the world, especially Maywood, because there's a lot of Maywoods around this world that nobody talks about.
Dalton's, Harvey's.
So
definitely. We have a lot of them.
Definitely need that, and we appreciate that.
And it start with the mayor. And that's what we say. We had to congratulate our mayor.
There
you know what I'm saying?
For doing a great job.
Yeah, because it's a lot of mayors in these cities that's terrible.
They only think about their constituents and how they can, you know, inflate their pockets. But you know, fortunately, we have a mayor that does take the better lives of his citizens into consideration before applying policies, you know, such as the property taxes maintaining at a steady level as opposed to drastically increasing as it had been for quite a few years prior to my arrival in Maywood, as I've heard.
Yeah, just he taking the initiative. He said we are no longer a ghetto. You know, you steady got people want to come in here. He said we not a ghetto anymore. You know what I mean? I love that stance.
I mean, he got me here,
You know?
right?
He said, we're not a ghetto anymore. We doing away with that. So we want to get some real grocery stores in the community. You know, not no Save a Lot. You know, what I'm saying? No shout out. No harm now. But we need a grocery store.
Yeah.
You know, and when you got somebody that's bringing in business to the community, man, it's always a plus. You know, because that's what's needed.
Definitely.
Thank you. Brother Ed, man,
Yes,
I feel like I'm just about to learn a lot just by sitting next to you, man. You know, first, once again, thank you for coming.
Certainly.
I'm curious just to know about your journey. You know, definitely how you got associated with this guy here. But we live in a world where there's so much going on, man, and I'm honored to be around someone that I can learn from as far as the pulse of our city, of our nation. You know, just tell people a little bit about your journey and how you got started and where you are now.
Well, I heard a lot of people mention the 200 address,
Yeah.
and that's where we actually met.
Oh, cool.
And because of the fact that he was inquisitive, he asked questions, he asked intelligent questions, we began to come together and come to find out we had more in common than we had, you know, not in common. And so as we started discussing things, we started saying, well, we got to get together. And a lot of times people will say that.
Yeah.
But he was sincere, just as you can see with everything he does. He's very sincere. And sometimes people will say things, but when he says something, he means it and he follows through. And so that's what I appreciate about him. So we were discussing energy. We both are interested in smart energy. And what I mean by that is that we all have a bill that we pay that will never pay off.
That's right.
If that don't hit home with you, then you don't have a pulse.
Yeah.
So I've been renting electricity for over 50 years.
Wow.
And never paid it off. Now I have solar panels on my house, and so every time the sun shines, me and Oz are smiling because we know we're making money and we're saving too.
Wow.
So that's the key of how we connected. And the thing about it is that what I look for are smart things. So solar is a smart thing. EV charging is a smart thing. A lot of times people have never even heard of it.
Yeah.
You know, but here's what I'm going to tell you, and I'm sure that you'll catch on to this, is if you had something that could produce income for you, but you didn't have to babysit it, would you be interested? That's the question I usually ask people.
Right.
So, you know, you can have a vending machine, but you got to stock it.
Yeah.
You got to go and take the coins or the money out of it.
Fix them.
But with an EV charging machine, the machine is set there. It operates 24 hours a day. You don't have to have an attendant, and it produces income on a regular basis.
Wow.
So that's one of the smart things that I do. The other thing that's not a part of directly of my business is that there are people like my daughter, my son, my nephew, they have what is called Airbnbs. I used to have properties, about 14 of them, and I rented them out. Anybody who's been a property owner know that you can get a tenant. It could be a headache, right? With the Airbnb, they vet them. They pay in advance. In fact, my daughter's got a person, I was telling you, she's in Milwaukee. The person came from San Diego, California, and she's like, I don't know if I want to stay here. It's kind of cold. She said, well, you should have known that before you left California.
Right.
But the good thing about it, the money is guaranteed.
Yeah.
And she signed up for 2 months. So she said, you can leave if you want to, but the money, you still got to pay
It's
it.
still there, yeah.
So that's what I like about air. To me, that's smart. So I like smart investments where I don't have to be there. I don't have to babysit it, don't have to monitor it, but my money is still coming in. Exactly. And so with the charging stations, 24 hours a day, around the clock, you're making money. Around the clock. I'm like, that's my kind of business.
Wow.
Airbnb, don't have to deal with tenants per se. You can be in another city, another state, another country. You're still making money. Around the clock. I like those kind of businesses. And the thing that makes it possible is the smart technology that we use, because like with my daughter, she has what we call smart locks. So with the smart lock, she can change that combination. New tenant comes in, she don't have to be there. She just has a cleaning service come in, clean it. She's back up and running again. So she's good for 3 months for what she's got with the Airbnb. which pays her mortgage, her
Yeah.
taxes, insurance, and everything, just like that.
So I want to know, like, what made you even get into something like
Into the smart
that?
company.
Smart
like,
energy.
yes,
Halo?
to want to, to make that some passive income.
Yeah. So how did I first get into like the passive income industry?
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, I was a traditional type of worker, like most people are.
Mhm.
I'd work from 8 to 4:30 or 9 to 5 or whatever, hours you had. And so I retired. I retired early. My whole goal was to retire early. So I retired at 55, right? And so then after my retirement, I said, what am I going to do?
Time out. Pay attention right now. Listen. Pay attention right now. Because I don't mean to cut you off. We're gonna because understand this. People think, oh, it's over for you. Like life is over once you get to a certain age. We got people telling us, oh, you 30, it's over with. Like you stop chasing your dreams or doing stuff. This man said after he retired. Okay? After he retired.
So I retired. I was a union electrician, retired from there, got a nice pension and everything else. My wife didn't believe I could retire. I said, I'm retiring at 55. You can't retire at 55. I said, I'm going to retire, get a lump sum, I'm going to take this money, do something else with it, have my money working for me. And she's like, where you get all these ideas from? I said, I didn't just wake up yesterday.
Right.
I've been thinking about this for a while. So I retired, and then a young lady, she was about 28 years old. I'm a pastor, so she came and she said, hey, Rev. She said, what you been doing? I said, chilling. What you think? She said, how would you like to have something where you can make passive income? I said, yeah, that sounds good to me. I like passive income. I like the idea of making money in my sleep and so forth. So she said, I make $30,000. I said, that don't excite me. I said, I make 90 grand. She said, I'm talking about 30 grand a month. I said, you got my attention, girl. I said, show me what you're doing and I can duplicate that. I'll make the money. She said, network marketing. I said, network marketing? She said, yeah, that's a secret that they keep from us.
Mm-hmm.
She said, but that's how the rich, that's how the wealthy get wealthy. I said, all right, so show me some more about it. So she started showing me, she laid out the blueprint. I said, I got you. About 4 months later, I'm at the same thing. I'm making 30 grand a month. I'm like, man, this is the way to make money. So I got my roof done and I was going to get solar panels, but I didn't know who I was going to go with. Same young lady, about, 5-10 years later, she said, hey, Red, what you doing? I said, I'm getting ready to put solar panels on my house. She said, don't do it. I said, what? What you hear? You heard something? She said, no, I want you to sign up with this company so you get paid on your own solar panels. I said, they're going to pay me for doing my own? She said, yeah. I said, cool. Tell me the name of the company and we're good to go. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got involved with what I'm doing now, is that I started with a company called Harbor Solar. And so they did residential solar. And then I said, oh, this is good. Then they came with another vertical, which is now the EV charging stations. Mm-hmm. I said, so how does this work? She said, well, businesses, if they have a parking lot or they have, land or whatever attached to it, they can put these stations on there and get paid. And I said, well, how much is the average? She said, well, if one car goes there every day for 30 days, that's $700. But with the increase of electric vehicles, it's going to be
hybrid cars, right?
Well, not hybrid.
No, EV.
Oh,
straight electric.
Okay.
Yeah. Straight. Well, you can still do the hybrid, but the thing about it, most hybrid people will only use it like in the city. But if they're taking a long trip, they use gasoline.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is that I said, okay, so $700, one charge. All right, 4 vehicles, $2,800. 5 vehicles, $3,500. I said, you know what? It's going to be 10, 20, 30, 40 vehicles. I said, that's a game changer right there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm in. So that's kind of how I got involved with it. So like I said, I'm always looking for smart things to get involved in that I don't have to be there. Because I'm 73 years old. I ain't going to be getting up on somebody's roof. I ain't going to be, running around doing this. But I will invest in something that makes sense. And especially if I see what I consider to be unlimited income.
Yeah.
See, my ceiling before was 30 grand. My ceiling now is $500,000. I'm talking about a month. So my thing is, when you show me the potential, I'm there. I'm there. Just all you gotta do is just show me. I can follow the blueprint. I can follow the plan.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
Let me.
So I got
to hold on to you.
It's my friend. It's my friend.
No, but I got a question about solar. So with that, it's very interesting. So, is it possible to go like in our society or in our area? Is it possible for you to go off the grid?
Yeah, definitely. Here's a man right here. He's off the grid.
Hi. So
Mr. Sunlit.
Yeah, so
he's off the
Ed
grid.
and I, one of our conversations the first time we met was my intrigue on him being plugged into the grid.
Okay.
And as he was, telling me a spiel about how he's plugged into grid, I then countered him and said, "Hey, what about when the grid goes down? Are you still powered?" And he said, "No." So then I told him, "Well, I am still powered. I run off of an inverter and a battery pack. So my battery pack has 7 kilowatt hours. So that's about enough for a day and a half of, the sun didn't come out, it's cloudy, the power grid's off. I can survive off the grid for about a day and a half. Sun comes out again, it's another day and a half. So mine goes up to 90 kilowatt hours, which is approximately a month. I can live off grid for a month. When I upgrade mine to its maximum capacity. It's not there yet, but it
has
in
potential.
increments. It has the potential to get there.
Yeah.
I don't make money off of my power, but I don't pay them anything for using power.
Exactly.
Difference.
He's autonomous.
I'm autonomous. He makes money off.
I make money because I produce twice as much as I use. So when the sun comes out, I'm like, okay, I can look on my phone and say, okay, I'm making money today, and so, but the thing about it, I can go with a hybrid system, which means I can go with either a generator, I go with batteries, and then I can still have power when the grid goes down. But at this point, like I said, I like to make money. So,
is it possible? Is it possible to do both? Whereas you're generating your own energy, and you're actually selling it back. Renting it out.
Exactly.
You can do both.
You can charge up your battery packs, and then once they're capped up, you just sell the rest of it straight to the grid.
So that's actually what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about going with a hybrid system where I have a backup generator as well as having the batteries
itself.
Okay.
That way I charge up my batteries, so I'll never go without power.
Wow.
Making money and unreliant.
And exactly.
Best of both worlds.
Can you tell the people why it's best to go, with the
Well, I wouldn't per se say it's best, right? I would say it's ideal for me and what I would like to do. Because like I said, I run a business off of this generator as well. Whereas Ed wouldn't be able to do that unless he unhooked this thing from the wall and, went off with it. I can roll mine out and go to an event, power an entire event with my generator.
Yeah, you can take
while the sun is out, that's one of my goals for Maywood, to have my company power all of their events, so that while kids are jumping in a bouncy house, they aren't inhaling the fumes from a gas generator, right? So I want to make sure that all of the Maywoodians are not only provided well politically, but also through their events, that they're all green events.
Yeah.
And I think,
go ahead.
Let me just say this, because the question you had asked, I think that there's 2 advantages. One advantage right away is that you don't have to worry about the rising cost of electricity. The other one is that you got clean energy. Both of those are great advantages.
But don't you pay for the solar? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the money is really still like the same, right?
Well, not really. What I'm doing is I exchanged a higher bill for a lesser bill. I was paying $150 with ComEd.
Okay.
My bill that I got from ComEd was, the last one my wife showed me was $18.
Yeah.
But my solar panels, I'm paying $98 for.
Right.
So 98 plus the 18, I'm still well below the 150.
So help us out here. Now, I'm glad you said that, because help the people out. Okay. We get a lot of people that come door to door.
Yeah.
Just looking to sell, solar panels to us, as are calling us.
Yeah.
They always calling.
Sure.
Especially me. I
too,
think I done blocked about 500,000
So many companies.
So many companies. So what would be your suggestion when you go, if somebody is interested in going solar? What would be your recommendation?
Like with me, what I do,
to look for?
like with everything that I do, I always vet the company. Who are the principals? Who are the, who's the CEO? How long have they been in business?
Okay.
Then also, I want to see, are you rated with the Better Business Bureau?
Okay.
Our company is A+ rated. You can't get much higher than A+, right?
Yes.
So those are things you want to look at. we had a company that I think that the Attorney General was looking at, and they were making a lot of, like you said, false claims.
Mhm.
We're going to give you this, we're going to do that. And it wasn't true.
Right.
So what they did, they shut them down. They shut them down.
They should.
And as they should.
Mhm.
And so they were shut down not only in Illinois, but in Connecticut and New York and a few other places because they were having the same conversation with people and they weren't following through. So the thing is, what are people who have done business with them, what are they saying?
Mhm.
And so I'd say over 95% of the people we've done business with are happy customers. And that says a whole lot.
Yeah.
And our panels are produced right here in America. They're produced in Georgia, so it's not like you got to wait for them to come from China or someplace like that. They are here, and you can get. I mean, my solar job was done in less than 60 days.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't want to be waiting like a half a year.
No,
Right.
to get the job
No,
done.
indeed. Yeah.
You want to get it done immediately, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unlike Ed, I didn't purchase my panels off of a program or a company. I'm DIY kind of person.
Yeah, he did it
If I
himself.
see something, I want it. I don't care how much you're charging. I'm gonna do it myself because if I do it myself, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So I bought a pallet of panels,
Mhm.
did it myself, sold the rest of the ones that I didn't need online. Bought the inverter, bought the charge controller, bought the battery, and I installed everything myself because I'm of the mindset of everything you need to know is online. It's just a matter of learning it, being willing and dedicated enough to do it correctly, and being, having that self-determination and self-discipline to be like, I want this done and I'm gonna get it done.
That drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm much more of the I've seen someone do this.
Yeah.
I know one person can do this.
Mhm.
Why not have me be that
He
person?
I like
sounds
that.
Yeah, he sounds like me.
I like that.
My
I'm
wife
the
was
same
like,
way too.
Why are you doing that? I said, because I know I can do it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not gonna pay someone $500 to do
Exactly.
something that can take me
Yeah.
2 YouTube videos and
That's
3
right.
days of learning. I'd rather do that
Do
myself.
it yourself. That's
rather
right.
do it myself.
We are
Plus,
learning a lot here tonight, man. I
Man.
hope we are soaking in all this information.
I
I'm
better
just-
be sucking this
all
taking
all
it
this
in,
information is
man.
getting bounced off my head. I'm like, okay. And you know what makes me think about, once again, TLCB the dopest, man. Go follow, like, share, subscribe to our listeners on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, man. Thank you for tuning in. It just is interesting how, because I think last year or the year before that, last year we did a show in Houston, right?
Mm.
And we was ready to do our show and everything, and
Man.
all the lights went out. Like, the power was just gone. And the whole weekend we was there.
Yeah.
We ain't had no power the whole weekend. It was like, damn, what the?
Oh,
It seemed like it should have been an easy fix, but I'm like, okay, now I'm learning more about how it works. So,
yeah.
That generator was there. We would have
generator-
yeah. The whole weekend we had no power.
And you
More
can,
than a weekend. Well, it was 5 days.
Yeah, we
We didn't get no power till the last day.
Oh,
We
man.
flew in. It was a tornado. We flew over.
I was gonna say
It was
Houston gets a
tornado.
lot of the
They had us. We was over Houston.
Yeah.
He circled for about 15 minutes. They sent us to San Antonio. We sat for some hours,
Yeah.
fueled up. Then we had to fly into Houston. And then when we driving, I'm like, is it just me, or is there no street lights on? You know?
We was above the tornado.
Yeah, we was above it when it was.
You
We
can
just
see
sitting there just waiting.
Yeah,
till it's
yeah.
over with.
Wow.
Yep.
Jesus.
But you can
Oh.
imagine. Okay, so now we know Houston's kind of wicked sometimes.
Yeah.
But you can imagine. I got a friend. He's a pastor, and he went down into Africa, and he was like, "Man, the power went out, but the people stayed there. They were like doing sermons and stuff in the dark.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, man, we can use some solar panels. So there's a pastor that I know that's out near Governor Highway.
Mhm.
And he was like, I want solar. I want EV charging stations. He said, I'm getting ready to go to Nigeria and I need to take this information
Yes.
back there with me. I'm saying like, yeah, we go to Africa. We do, we're international. So it makes no difference.
And it's much more detrimental in Africa because they'll shut it off on you to do the politics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, they'll shut you off. They can get mad at you and shut the power off out there.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So this is what I want to do. Once again, man, I'm so glad that y'all are here, man. Well, I'm glad you finally on the show, man. 'cause,
Yeah.
you always
Behind the
I'm
scenes.
always
Yeah.
the scenes,
Camera,
you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? I want to switch gears for a second, and we have something we want to talk about. This bag is so heavy that I want to touch on. Once again, I'll explain that in a second, but I definitely want to get to this person who wrote this in because it's something that is going on that we need to talk about as well. But before we do that, D. Jenkins, man, We doing a shout out to the plug, man.
Shout
Shout out to the plug.
Listen here, shout out to the plug.
Yep.
Hey, make sure y'all get in tune. Moolah Monster Collections.
Yes,
Where they can
sir.
find you at, bro?
MoolahMonster.com. Go check me out. We got some summer clothes coming out. Man, the summer gear is ridiculous,
about to be
man.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
we got the TOTB jogging suits too. Y'all check us out. MoolahMonster.com, man.
Most definitely.
Beautiful.
Red's moving forward. Our very own second book came out.
Yes, indeed. Pursuit of Moving Forward Part 2 is out, and I heard some rumblings that we're working on the movie.
Oh,
So
it's gonna be real
Yeah.
interesting because I read the book. It's gonna be real interesting. Real
Yeah.
interesting.
Go. Let's get it.
Of course, hey, we sitting here with Mr. Ed Perry, hey, Halo Smart Company.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey, you specialize in marketing, EV charging, solar panels, and then bring smart home technology.
Yes, sir.
All
That's
right,
it.
where can they go to find anything that they need in regards to
They
that?
can actually look at halo.com.
Halo.com.
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Then also we got Sunlit Events and Sunlit Line. You can find all that on Sunlit Booking, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
www.sunlitbooking.
Yes, sir.
Man, y'all get in tune with these people, man. We got as y'all see, they very informative and they tell you ways that can help benefit your life, not just from from a financial stance as well. Let me put it that way. Also from a financial stance. So it's something to look into, and it's something to keep it as far as keeping the world clean with smarter technology. All right. Then also D Jenkins _25. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on YouTube. When I tell you God has been doing some amazing things and connecting me with the right people to bring forth something that will really make a change in the lives of all our people. Stay in tune. Get in tune and stay in tune.
It is.
Shout out to the plug.
Shout out to the plug,
Yeah.
man.
All right.
It's gonna be a crazy summer, just so y'all know, man. We're just gonna put that out there. All right, so to our viewers that's tuning in right now live, to the people that's gonna watch the show sometime tomorrow this week, to our listening audience on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to your audio podcast. To my brother Oz, you know about it, of course. To my new friend Ed. This is what's in that bag, right? What's in that bag is universally because of our followers. They send us letters. They have questions about their personal life, finance, family, sex, etc., right? And they count on us, the thinkers, to give advice on their situation. If it's something in that bag you want to talk about and give them some advice, then do so, please. Because I'm pretty sure they're going to be watching or listening. But if there's, you don't want to get into it too much, you can just be like, you know what, ain't nothing in that bag. I'm going to just stand back from this one, okay? So you guys ready?
Sounds good.
Okay, this is something that I definitely feel like this is the perfect panel to talk about. So if you're watching right now, time to tune in, subscribe, like, and share. All right? Let's do it. All right. Hello, fellas. My name is April. I currently live in Dallas. I don't know how it is in Chicago, but dating scene here is so whack. I started doing online dating a few weeks ago. I met a guy who seems pretty nice, and I was kind of excited for our first meetup. However, after I let him plan this outing, he informed me that we was going to church, then to lunch. I thought that was a bit weird for a first date, but I just went with it. As the offering time came around and the pastor asked everybody to sow a seed and pay tithes, I started thinking about this Marvin Sapp situation and got a little bit uncomfortable. My date put a $100 bill in the envelope, and I felt all the attention was on me to put money in my envelope, but I didn't. Afterward, I felt so embarrassed, and I blamed my date for making me feel that way, but once again, I left it alone. After church, he took me to Applebee's. Applebee's out of all places. While at Applebee's, me and him had a conversation, and I told him my stance on the Marvin Sapp situation about close the doors, and he immediately told me that people was overreacting and that more people should pay tithes, sow seeds, and believe in what the church is trying to build. I disagreed, and me and him had a bit of an argument about it. So I want to ask you guys, first of all, do you think this was a weird date to go on as a man? Would you plan this as a man? And second of all, what are your thoughts on the Marvin Sapp situation about him telling his congregation to lock the doors and for everybody to sow a seed of $20. Thank you for your time. Okay, so, man, we got some pastors up here.
I knew that was coming.
And, you know, once again, April, thank you for writing in from Dallas. Shout out to Dallas. They'll be checking in. This young lady is saying she went on a date with somebody she met online, right? It was a little awkward at first. She went to church and, you know, the guy put in $100 for, you know, sow a seed. She ain't put nothing in there. You're like, you know what? Hey, I ain't doing nothing. But she felt all the eyes on her as she didn't sow a seed or pay her tithes, right? Then afterwards, they went to Applebee's, where they got the 2 for $25. Shout out for the 20. That's a good meal. I'll just put that out there.
It definitely is.
2 for $25, you're going to get it right. But she felt a certain way about it. But during the time they was eating, she brought the situation about how she didn't like the Marvin Sapp situation, and he kind of came to his defense. And now she's asking us first, as a man, would you take a woman on a first date or first meet up to church and then to Applebee's? And then second, what are your whole thoughts on this whole Marvin Sapp situation? All right? We want to know y'all situation, and we want to know y'all opinions. I'm sorry out there. Audience members, of course, the thinkers, of course. But let's get to our guests. And of course, we got to start with the educated Mr. Ed, man. What you think?
Well, let me put it like this: is that when you give, you're supposed to give from your heart.
Okay.
And if you are not a member of a church, you are not required or even asked to give tithes or offerings.
Oh, really? Okay.
Never knew that.
That's the other thing. Yeah. So what? Even like if you go to a church and you're a member of that church, then that's a whole different situation, a whole different relationship. So what happens is if I go and visit another church, just like I went to a church, we actually had a march on Dr. King's, the anniversary of, yeah. So we went to a church and they asked for an offering. And so I like, okay, sure. I put money in there, but it wasn't my tithes. My tithes is a 10th of my earnings or my increase, right? That's what tithe stands for. So for them to look at her some kind of way was not right.
Okay.
If she put in a nickel or a dime, if that's what she felt was right, that's good. I heard a story once, and I'm going to share this.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Graham was not a church-going guy, but he wanted to go out with Ruth, who was his wife, right? And so they went to church, and what happened was he reached in his pocket and he pulled out a $50 bill and put it in the plate, right? And so he said, "Oh, I thought that was a $5 bill." And she told him, she said, "Well, God knew that it was a $50 bill and you thought it was a $5 bill. So whatever you gave, that's what you were supposed to give." And so the thing is, don't worry about it. Don't let that become an issue. Just deal with the fact that if your heart is right, you give freely how you feel. And I just let it go at that. As far as somebody closing the doors and telling everybody they got it, no, that person needs to be slapped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
that person needs to be slapped. Yeah.
So, because I had to look at the video a few times for me to give my opinion.
Yeah.
So do you think that the whole, and I like Marvin Sapp, I love his music, but do you think that the way he approached it as far as telling the ushers to close the doors multiple times?
I've been in churches where, and you've probably been in them as well, where they say, "Oh, we got to raise X amount of dollars and this and that," and and then we're not going to leave here until we raise it.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't play that.
Okay.
My thing is, and I guess it's because I'm in a different category.
Yeah.
But like when we have issues at our church, like say for example, the roof needed to be done. I would go in and I'd say, "Hey man, the roof's got to be done," and everybody's like, and then I say, "But here's the thing about it, I got it. I got it. I make enough money that I can take care of the roof and I can take care of whatever else needs to be done." So money is not an issue at our church, but there are some churches where money is an issue,
struggling,
and so I can understand that. So I guess people have to do what they have to do, but I would prefer that everything just comes as a natural thing.
Yeah.
In other words, we teach about tithing, we teach about giving and the joy of giving, and it's more blessed to give than to receive. But you have to also practice what you preach. And anybody who knows me, I'm a giver. I give because God has given me so much that when I meet people, even strangers on the street, even at that event, when I left that event, there were people that I saw that were going to get food. Yeah. And I was like, here, man, can you use this? Can you use that? Because they were like, "Can you give me another one?" I'm like, "Look, man, I'm trying to treat everybody equally." But no, That's my take on it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever been to a church where they bring that tray
About 4
around,
times.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, come on now.
Yeah. Once around, that's good enough.
That's it.
That's it.
It should be,
If you didn't get it on the first go around, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know certain churches be having a pastor's birthday offering, the church fund offering, Sister Mary's hip surgery offering. You know,
I probably won't have a lot of friends after this, but I'm just speaking freely and being honest with you.
That's what's up.
The way I feel about it. So,
Oz, this lady is saying that she went on this date with this guy. He took her to church, and she felt a certain way. And then at dinner or lunch, she brought up a situation about Marvin Sapp, and he was saying, "Look, people are wrong for thinking that Marvin Sapp is wrong. He did what he was supposed to do." How would you feel about this situation? What's your advice here?
Well, unlike I'm guessing most people up here, I myself am agnostic.
Okay.
So if I'm putting myself in the position of that girl, right? Like, let's say she isn't religious. Let's say that's the wrong religion of hers, but you still invited her to go there. You are imposing your religion on this individual and saying you must do what I say if you want to be my partner. And that's what that first, especially as a first date, if you're bold enough to be like, this is what I'm asking of you, this is my religion, this is what we must do. I feel that was a bold step on his part. And then an even bolder step to say, why didn't you follow exactly how I believe this to be?
Good point.
So, you know, everyone has their own perspective, everyone has their own ideologies, and I respect everyone's, and I'm never going to say that anyone's is wrong. But if you expect me to believe what you're following on the first date, I think that's a lot of you to ask from me, especially if it's the first date. If it's the third, fourth, fifth date, and I'm more aware of your religion, we've discussed this, I now understand your stance on, you know, this offering, I will probably say no if you were to ask me on my third, fourth date and say, this isn't what I'd love to do. Afterwards, sure, we can go to Applebee's still, have a good time. But, you know, you go enjoy your church time with the people that you admire it with. And then we can have fun afterwards. But that was my personal opinion listening to that, as I can't take this, I can't see myself in the position of the male that invited someone to go on that very personal first date. I took the stance of being asked to go to do something so personal. And I think that it was admirable of her, for sure, to say yes. Right off the bat. To say, yes, I'm going to go with you. Because you don't know what some of these churches are going to be like. And her saying yes already shows that she's willing and likes you enough to be out there with you like that. So you to put that extra pressure on her to be, you must give this, I think was a little bit of an overstep on his part.
And actually, honestly, she, like I said, this is online dating, and she felt that or need, like, okay, and it's a good point.
If you met her at church, that's different.
It's the first time.
But if you met her online on Tinder, that's, you should expect other things.
I feel that.
Have you ever dealt with someone who tried to inflict their religion on you?
While I was in college, actually, I went out with a lady that was very religious. And she was aware that I was agnostic. But she respected that just like I respected her religion. Like every Sunday, I wouldn't see her for hours on end. But I knew she was doing what she needed to do. And she never, after I told her I was agnostic, she never asked for me to go. But I did go to some church events with her to be, you know, her partner and to be a part of her experiences. But I myself didn't, you know, dive into that head first. Like,
I got a question for you guys, right? Would y'all date a person who don't believe in a higher power?
Well, I'm going to put it like this. I've been married for 52 years, and my wife and I are both in the church. So the answer is no.
Well, clearly, after 52 years. That's
What about you, Red?
I mean, I'm so in tune with my spiritual journey as following Christ that I couldn't be with someone who isn't on the same journey as me. I'm going to respect everybody's journey or wherever they follow, but as far as being equally yoked, me and her have to be on the same page and the same road to that. You know what I'm saying?
Does it have to be the same religion, even if she's following her religion
question.
equally as passionately?
I think as long as we are aligned that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, then we can move forward.
Got it.
And if we're not aligned in that, that's fine. I'm still going to respect her and everything like that.
Mhm.
But that is the alignment that I will require
For a life partner.
For a life partner.
There you go.
So as Islamic women is not in
We couldn't move forward together in a relationship, right? Okay, Mullah, what do you think on this situation with this young lady? man?
Well, I always say, like, when you want to make church your first date, it's almost like you invite me to come and meet your parents first.
Wow, that's
This is higher level, I think.
That's a different.
Maybe
My
higher.
parents, you
Yeah.
know, like maybe my
You know,
grandparents.
Whatever it is, I'm really, you know, I'm on eggshells. You know what I'm saying? So,
Especially after what you be doing on Saturday nights. I already know, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I know your Saturday nights.
You gotta
be
go
wild.
say sorry a couple times.
yes. But I feel like, you know, certain things that we do in life that we want to be, we want other people to be comfortable with, but sometimes we do it too early, you know. And I think this probably is one of the problems that, you know, I think first dates should be more intimate with just two people.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in crowds and stuff like that. Especially when you're trying to get to know somebody. We don't want to do that. But the intent probably was good. You know, we can't never
On his
knock
behalf,
that-
yeah.
We can't never knock the intent, but I just don't feel like that was a good go.
Okay.
You know, anytime when people on first dates mention religion and politics, I'm going for the door. Because it's so much that we can talk about within us.
Even if it's the same, even if it aligns with your views.
I'm not going to even mention my views too on the first date.
Yeah.
I don't think that's important.
You want more of like a neutral kind of.
Yeah, I wanted more
How
grounded.
does the vibe feel
Yeah.
before I release
to that.
anything personal?
Yeah,
for
I
you?
want to know how many kids you got before I leave. How many baby daddies you got before I leave.
Fair enough.
You
fair
know what I'm
enough.
saying? I'm into those questions.
And
more.
you can't ask that at church.
No,
And you can't ask that at church.
No. And I think the church.
Actually, you can. That's the false narrative that's painted, but I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think.
See, I'm not aware.
Right,
Thank you for
right,
enlightening
I
me.
guess.
I think the church vibe was almost an intent to show you how
Serious he is about it.
Come on now.
Mm.
You know, like, come on, let's.
Should she have spoken up prior to the date and said, "This is a little bit"? Maybe, like I said, maybe let's meet after you go to church because I'm not.
I wouldn't
that
agree.
level.
You wouldn't agree to go to
I wouldn't
church.
agree.
Okay.
You know, and if I would have lost her because of me not, because sometimes it happens like that.
Yeah.
I would have just said I lost one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. There's
You
another
wanna
swipe
play.
somewhere else on
I
there.
like
right?
to be comfortable. I like to be comfortable when I'm
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I like to, you know, relax and let my head out, you know, stuff like that. And that wouldn't be it, you know. But maybe third or fourth date, I'm interested, and maybe we can, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying, go to that extreme, you know,
Definitely.
if she want to do. But I just don't feel it was a good go.
D. Jenkins, April needs our help, man. So what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it was an awesome date because it was the church, then it was the Applebee's. Anytime I'm going with somebody, I want to know what your faith base is. How can two walk together unless they agree? You know what I mean? It's good to get to know a person. The false narrative that's being painted is that she went in with intentions that it had to be a certain type of way. That's one of the reasons why they should have went to church, so she could see exactly what she's dealing with.
Okay.
If she's dealing with somebody that's being manipulated into giving their money, then you know this might not be somebody I want to deal with. Because you go to a church where they manipulate you into giving. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great experience. You know what I mean? We're just going to church. The problem is we have a problem with looking at people in the church, or whether they're pastors or ministers, as people. They're people. When you go in, I'm going here to worship God. You know what I mean? And I'm introducing you to see how I worship God. You know, partially how I worship Him. To invite you into my world. You just welcome me in to see. Now, as far as the giving, the problem with the giving was, now she should have gave.
She should have gave?
I'm gonna tell you
Okay.
why she should have gave.
Mhm.
Because she said she felt bad She didn't say he made her feel bad about what he said. She felt bad because he gave
And
then she did.
Right.
The Bible says, so as a man is purposed in his heart ought he to give, not grudgingly or of necessity. She was convicted because she didn't give. So that was on her. That wasn't on him.
If that's the Old Testament or the New Testament.
Listen what I said. So as a man is purposed in his heart ought he to give, not grudgingly or of necessity.
Hold on, but he told me, he said, the tithes is what?
Yeah, tithes is a tenth of your offer, your increase.
This is an offering. This is not a tithe they was asking for. This
but here's the thing
offering.
about it, and what you just said, think about it. Not to give grudgingly. If she had given, she would have been given.
Maybe we don't know because she said she didn't do it. She felt convicted afterwards.
But she didn't want to, but she felt convicted afterwards because of the
stairs.
Exactly.
Okay, from him. Okay,
Yeah.
so either way.
she would have been given grudgingly.
And that's what you got to be careful. That's what I'm saying. It's as you are purposed in your heart ought we to give. When you talk about the Old Testament and the New Testament, what you got to understand, the Bible says that all those things were before the law was a shadow of things to come.
That's right.
So the things that they operated in the Old Testament was just to show us, to teach us to be more of a giver.
Right.
You have to be a giver. You know what I mean? One of the main things when you deal with the Marvin Sapp is where he came out and said he was doing it for the purpose of funding this convention. You know, and a lot of pastors will use that and they'll say that, and I'm just be honest, a lot of them they use it bogusly. They'll say that it's to build the church and things like that. The tithe was never created to build the church.
No.
If you read Exodus, the 36th and 37th chapter, it was through the offering.
Yeah.
It was what people willingly gave.
Okay.
If we would just focus on giving the word and feeding to the edifying the people spiritually, then the people would be willing to give. They gave so much. You talk about the Old Testament, they gave so much to build the church. Bezalel and them, these carpenters that was put in place,
That's right.
they gave them so much they had to tell them to stop giving.
Stop giving.
They said you giving too much.
Yeah.
So they told them to stop giving. And that was an offering.
Okay.
That was an offering. The tithes were not money back in then. The tithes was, you had the Levitical priests, they didn't inherit priesthood. I mean, the Levitical priests, they inherited priesthood. They didn't inherit land.
Right.
So the people that inherited land, it was their job. Say, like, for instance, you had 10 cattle, right? You say, well, I'm going to bring 1 cattle here. The God say, I need you to take this to a place where my name should be, and I need you to take a tenth to the storehouse, right? Okay, you might take 1 cattle with you. He said, if it's too far for you to go and too much for you to carry, he said, sell your tithe for money. That means it wasn't money. So you sell it for money. Then when you get to the place where my name shall be, he said, then you buy whatever your soul lusteth after. He said, whether it's strong drink, wine, oxen, sheep, you buy and you take it into the storehouse. And that's what, and now you may bring 1 bull. I may bring 100 bushels of corn.
Right.
But guess what? I might got a family of 7. You only by yourself. So once we bring it to the storehouse, the first thing we were to do with the tithe was you was to consider the Levite because they didn't inherit land. So you taking care of the people that's spiritually feeding you. So you give them a portion. But also in the same sense, he says, and then you were to consume it together. You was to make sure nobody was in need. So for example, I may take some of your meat from your cattle. You might take some of my corn. So everybody was in need. What it is, this false narrative where it's being exercised and it's being used wrong to where people is trying to force these things upon people, especially in the church. And we do an injustice to our people because what we do, we hinder them into thinking that they not to give or they don't want to give. Listen, we should all want to give and establish something. We give to what we do here. We invest in what we do here. So if it comes to a church and I have faith in it, like I say, and I believe in what I'm being fed in that church home, I'm going to support it.
Support them.
Anything that I want to support, but it's based upon what my heart is telling me to support. It's not based upon an amount that you give me.
So offering and tithes is totally different.
2 different things.
Yeah,
Two different things.
And it's still when it come down to it in the New Testament, he says, so as you are purposed in your heart, I you to give. So even in tithing, it's up to you to decide if you want to, because if you're tithing, listen, if you're tithing and you're tithing grudgingly, God, he say he loves a cheerful giver.
That's right. No blessing in that.
He don't even honor your tithe
Yeah.
because you're giving it in distraught. You're giving it in frustration. You're giving it in anger. So God doesn't even honor that. He wants you to give it cheerfully. And if you don't, you don't. There's many people around here that be tired and then they say, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I've been trying and I'm trying this. And the Lord looking at you like, I gave you the money.
That's right.
You gave it away to a church. Just been pimping you out. Just send a plate around 3, 4, 5 times. You know what I mean? No, don't get me wrong. I believe wholeheartedly that, like, again, you should give to what you feel is supporting you, especially spiritually. I believe that's something to invest in. But it's as you as you purpose in your heart to give.
I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you take a girl out on a first date to the church?
Yes, I would.
Have you?
Well, yeah, I actually did. I think our first date was, remember? But we was in the same church too. But we went to church. You know what? You want a funny story? So we went to church. Then we went out west to get something to eat. She wanted to see if I was gonna take her out there. Afterwards, she didn't want to go no more. She found that I like going to stores like that. I'm used to being around, stuff like that. But she was testing me. But our first date, I think we went to Bible study, and it's okay. And I'm telling you got to shake the narrative that it's a bad thing, because if you're going to be dealing with somebody, you want to know what is their beliefs. What are they morals? It's just like if you worship Satan, I need to know that up front. Right. I don't want to wait to find that out the third and fourth date. Let me know now if you worship Satan, because we can go on and move past this. You know what I'm saying? It was nice meeting you. I'm moving along. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's nothing wrong with it at all. Now, as far as with her and her situation, like I said, I believe wholeheartedly I don't know, and he might be right. Maybe if she didn't feel like giving, she didn't. But if she felt convicted, first of all, you got to be delivered from people. Stop worrying about how people looking at you.
Yeah.
Stop looking about how people look at you. Look at how God look at you. Mm-hmm. If you reverence God, worry about how God look at you, not like how people look at you. Because people going to always try to manipulate you and take advantage. It's going to always be people that do that, But
you know what? You might be right, because one of my first dates, right, was at a strip club. And she remembered that date. I'm talking about, like, I ain't talked to her in about 15 years.
And that's all she talking about.
That's all she's talking about.
See? See? What they say, first impressions is everything.
That's right.
It's not a bad thing that he took her to a church. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he putting out the hint like, hey, I'm looking for a wife. I ain't looking for no girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? You never know. Mm-hmm. But one thing I will say about this to help April out, he should have made you feel comfortable. It was his job.
Yeah. To
make you feel comfortable and let you know you're not obligated to not only not give anything, you're not obligated to go. Because I don't want to force this upon you. I would like to take you here. Also, you're not obligated to give anything if you don't want to give anything. Don't feel any type of way. That's something that should have been addressed afterwards, because you want her to feel comfortable. That's our job. If you plan on courting somebody and you plan on them being building a future with them, listen, you want them to feel comfortable.
That's right.
You, especially as a man, I want that woman to feel comfortable around me and let you know I got your back. I got your back and I stand with you. And if you ain't comfortable, hey, maybe you will get there and maybe you won't. But right now, you're not obligated to it. I'm just welcoming you in to experience my faith.
And let me just say this too. It's like if I take somebody on a date, right? Generally, as a man, I'm going to pay. I'm going to pay on the first date.
Exactly.
So the thing is, why couldn't he have said, "Hey, baby, here's $20."
Yeah, on that.
$20, $10, whatever.
I would have did that.
Put it in an envelope and put it in. Or look, I'm just putting your name and my name on here.
Always, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just ways that he could have handled that. So
yes, most definitely.
Yeah, I was gonna say not for April, but for the young man. Perhaps you should get on ChristianMingle.com, somewhere where you'll find someone that has your values, right? Yeah. That way, you get that awkwardness of like, she might not like this out of the way. Just like you said, like if they're not gonna follow the Christ is the man, then don't waste your time.
But the thing is, they still might be Christians, still don't want the doors closed and tell them you can't leave.
At least they'll have less of a contradiction.
Exactly. There you go.
I will say that, as we get ready to wrap up, I will say that listening to the clip in its entirety and then hearing his interviews afterwards, if I was a first time at that church or just whatever, just a person that was at that particular service and him saying, he's telling the ushers to close the doors, We all gonna leave together. Y'all ain't going nowhere to getting something to eat. You know, like I'm talking about first impressions. Then you tell them, you know, 1,000 people in here, 1,000 people online. Everybody get $20,000. $20. We gonna have $40,000. You know what I'm saying? Then telling the people behind them, y'all put y'all money away because I need $100 from y'all because it costs to be up here. I'm just saying that would on first impressions, I'll probably like, you know, it would make me feel away.
I think in this day and age, I agree with it. You know why? Let me tell you why. Because the way society is right now, it is more microwave mentality. You know what I'm saying? So if I got the people right now, let me get some money right now.
but you know he you know he messed up though. You know he really messed up. Even in that sense. Because he could have got a lot more. And I'm not saying for his own self or for his pocket. If he limited God because he based it upon his own ability to raise an offering. Rather than allowing the people to willingly give what was on their heart to give. You don't know, it might have been 1,000 that stood up afterwards and said, I was so inspired and so blessed by this, I want to give $100.
That's right.
But he limited what God, or 1,000.
Yeah.
But he limited what God can do by putting 20 on it, by getting a number in his head thinking, we got to pay this. They need to pay this. They need to pay that. Yeah. Stop worrying about that and just worry about spreading God's word.
That's it.
He messed up.
Or he added fuel to their pockets.
Well, but again, I go back to what I told you. Listen, when you get people to give, you talk about them lines, right? You ever seen people say, I need a $50 line here, I need a $100 line here. Yeah. Listen, I done seen that, I need a $20 line here. They get up, get in line. I done seen after they done did these lines, sit back down, that ain't enough. God said, get some more. Oof. And I done seen people walk back up with frowns on their face.
That's right.
It's everything that you did is just wiped out.
Yeah, they're giving grudgingly.
You giving grudgingly. It's wiped out. You can't put limitations on God.
But you know what though?
That's why reading the Bible is so important. I'm telling you about if you give the people the option to give willingly, you'd be surprised at what people will give to you, bro.
That's true.
Look at us as friends and how we give to one another.
And the thing about it, if you think about it, he looked at the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And we know that in the Bible, a lot of times people got in trouble by census taking numbers.
Yep.
So he said, I got X amount of people. If each one gives this amount, I'll have this.
This much.
But the Bible in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. And he will direct your path.
Yep.
He didn't give God the room to supply for him.
There it is.
But you know what? I don't know if you said it right.
Jeez.
And that's real. Graham, you know, we always have this street mentality because where we come up from, right? Sometimes when you can change, like, you know what? I'm not doing nickels no more. I'm not doing straight dubs and 50s. Those people with those nickels and dimes, they get in line because guess what? They like, Joe, he making me get in order. He making me, you know what I'm saying, get my money. Sometimes we need that awakening when it comes to, I ain't saying everybody, you know what I'm saying, but sometimes we do kind of penny pitch.
Yeah.
With just the system that we live in, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes if we do give more, we will get more.
But what you missing is it's not in the push, it's how he pushed. He could have inspired, not pushed.
Right.
You inspire the people to give because they're here. Evidently, they're here to hear the word. You inspire through the word of God. You don't have to. When he put a number on it, he wiped that out. So that's the problem. That's the difference. You understand? That's the difference, bro. He didn't have to put a number on it at all. You just inspire the people to want to give to something.
That's right.
We always give to listen. When I'm gonna keep it real. When a person want to drink top shelf,
Mhm.
they gonna buy top shelf.
See it.
You know, when they want to go to a concert,
Yeah.
if Beyonce
They gonna
$1,800,
front row.
they front row.
That's right. Got to
You
be
see what I'm
there.
saying? When you go to a restaurant, you don't want Popeyes, you want
Jerk.
Grand Lux. You go on the Grand Lux, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We all pay for what we want. And there's no difference when you go to somebody that's feeding you spiritually. Trust me, and I'm telling you from a man who loves to be fed spiritually.
That's right.
When you go to somebody that feeds you spiritually, as long as they do their job, I want to give.
Yeah.
You ain't asking me.
That's a good point.
You ain't even asking me
I
to
get
give.
that.
I want to bless your ministry.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
And that's a good point, what you just said, because what happens if you're giving the word and people being fed, it's value.
Yes.
And that value,
Yeah.
you're going to come out your pocket.
Yeah.
That Beyonce concert thing was a perfect example.
Perfect example.
Is she worth it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Was that
Damn
word
right
worth
she
it?
was.
There it is.
So yeah, you
Yeah.
come out your pocket.
I agree with that. Even with a haircut, man.
Exactly.
You see her hair after, like, man,
Yeah.
you only charge $20 here. I'm gonna give you 30. I'm gonna give you 40. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a tip.
Yeah. So I agree with that, and I hope that April was listening and she writes back and let us know her opinions on this, because I can get how that can be an awkward conversation when you having a conversation like that with somebody. So
Yeah.
look, we about to wrap up, but definitely one more time, thank you to our guests that came up in here, man. My guys. One more time, Oz, where can they find you, man?
I am Oz Romero on Instagram and TikTok.
There it is, my guy. Appreciate you, man. Professor Ed.
Halo.com.
There it is. Thank you for coming, my man. Moolah.
MoolahMonster.com. Check us out.
You know it. D. Jenkins.
At D Jenkins_25, TikTok and YouTube. Getting tuned, staying tuned.
Of course. I'm Reggie Move Forward. Just Reggie Move Forward on Facebook. Voice of Vibes on IG. And look, we're going to, before we sign off, we're going to give our thinkers final thoughts. And it's just simply, we talked about a lot tonight.
Yeah.
You know, we talked a lot about solar energy and just how to work out better cost-effective techniques for your living. We talked about situations with Christianity or religion and dates, things like that. We live in a society where it's 2025. Things is different than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? There is somebody that's listening to this show right now that probably won't wake up the next morning, right? We need to take advantage of all the information that we gather from panels like this, from intelligent brothers like this, from dating experiences, from DJ is talking about religious experiences. We need to soak in all this information so that the next day, if we are blessed to wake up that day, we can apply it to somebody else and pay it forward.
Yeah.
So let's live in the knowledge that we live tonight and pay it forward to the next day. All right?
Yeah.
All right, man. Go follow the show, TLTB_show on Facebook, IG, TikTok, all over the place, man. Next show is going to be, go follow us and see what's coming on next show. That's all I would say, man.
Definitely.
Thank you to our people that came through tonight, man. And look, we just getting started. This summer's about to be lit, man. So we know that Professor Ed gonna come through. You know, so we already know my man Oz gonna be here,
Family
man.
down here.
Yeah.
Anytime you
So,
want to come through, you know,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Enlighten us,
let's
enlighten
come on
us.
through,
Yeah,
man.
come on.
Appreciate you.
And bring that bankroll you got with you too. Yeah, get some of that money. You know?
All right.
Teach us how to get it.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, there's
man.
only two things I do: help you to save money or make money.
There it is. I'm with it.
Most
Isolation, make information.
Ooh, heavy. Look, man, we're going to see y'all next episode, man. Be safe out here, man. All right, stay grounded. With that, we are
Thinking outside the box.
We'll see y'all next time, man.
For sure.
See, things have come to head, time out for scare you, scary route today. And follow us down Courage Lane. They cages in, break down the gates. We want all the smoke, like we chiefing on a pound a day, but not talking intoxicating rage. Not intoxicating.